Welcome to the Girl Talk Mental Health. Girl Talk Mental Health dares to go where others won't. We unpack the hard truths about mental health, dissect trending topics, and challenge the stereotypes and stigmas holding us back. From navigating the 6 dimensions of wellness to redefining social norms, this is more than a discussion. It's a revolution in how we care for our minds and souls. Ready for bold, honest conversations that spark change? Let's dive in. It's time for real talk with real impact.
Well, welcome back to another powerful episode of Girl Talk Mental Health, the show where we help others like you conquer stress, protect your mental health, and thrive instead of survive. I'm your host, Virginia Dale Manning, a licensed professional counselor, a mental health advocate, and the CEO of Gen Man Consulting and Counseling and Associates. And today we are breaking down the hidden ways stress is destroying your health and the game changing solutions to fight back before it's too late. So, guess what? Be sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel because you do not want to miss an episode of Girl Talk Mental Health, and you'll find the link in the descriptions. So, right now, I want you to stop, grab your notebook, get comfortable, and let's thrive into the truth about stress and your body. And guess what? We have another special guest this week, and her name is Georgia Foster. Don't you know love the 2 states, Virginia and Georgia? Like, we just doing it today. She's a clinical hypnotherapist and voice dialogue trainer, known as the go-to expert in the UK and Australia for food and alcohol issues. So let's welcome Miss Georgia Foster.
I love the clapping.
Yeah, you're special. All our guests are special. So tell our audience a little bit about you and so they can get a little acquainted with you.
Well, you can probably hear as I speak, I'm Australian. And one of the reasons why I decided to specialize in alcohol and food is because I had those issues myself. So when I was in my 20s, I had like a bit of a breakdown. I was overweight, I was drinking a lot, overeating. And I went to a health farm in Queensland where they specialize in group therapy, which I'd never experienced in my life. Mm-hmm. I realized that people in the room who were, I thought, smarter than me, slimmer than me, richer than me, had happy families, husbands and children. And I realized that we all had the same problem, that we didn't like ourselves, that there was issues there. So I traveled to London and I trained to be a clinical hypnotherapist. But along the way, I trained in this amazing psychology, which I really would love to share with everybody today. And the combination of the hypnosis and the psychology training really helped me shift my mental state. Mm-hmm. And you could just call it low self-esteem. Look, I think we're not born with self-esteem. We have to learn it, right? Mm-hmm. It's a language. It's an emotional language. And through a lifetime of many things, maybe perhaps eroding your sense of self-worth, then we have to work on it. It's like building new foundations and continuing to grow. So the reason why I specialize in self-esteem and anxiety, and in particular food and alcohol, is because I understand that they're all threats at the end of the day. They're all coping strategies. I mean, there's a bit of an irony in there. You don't want to overdrink. And I'm looking at people who are sitting on park benches. I'm talking about people who are fully functioning, running their own businesses, families, busy lives. They're good citizens of society. But they tend to overdrink as a coping strategy, and they tend to overeat as a coping strategy. And both of those are linked to the chemical reactions of anxiety and stress, because instantly alcohol increases dopamine. So people aren't getting hooked into alcohol, they're getting hooked into chemical reaction. So I'm one of these people who want to debunk all of the myths about oh my god, you drink too much because you've got a drinking problem. My slogan is I think you've got a thinking problem before you consume, whether it's food or alcohol. And that's my step with my programs is I'm about, right, well, first of all, let's break that state through the power of hypnosis. And I'm not anti therapy at all. But what's interesting is by the time people find my method, is they're kind of done with themselves. They're really over themselves. They're sick and tired of going on this treadmill of why am I drinking three-quarters of a bottle of wine? Why am I eating this packet of cookies and I'm not even hungry? And what's beautiful about it is with the power of hypnosis, you can, in just as little as 25 minutes, you can train the mind to healthier coping strategies so you're not reaching for that wine or that beer or that
Ooh,
cocktail
well,
to
that's
calm your
good.
nerves and put you into better space.
Mhm. That's interesting. So I'm pretty sure, your conversation with the audience today is going to be impactful so you can help them understand more about that connection between stress and our physical health. So you ready to dive in?
Absolutely.
So this is our segment one. It's the shocking truth about stress and your body is some things that you just told us a lot about, and a lot of people probably didn't know about that connection between stress and overeating and drinking. So the question is, well, first some background. Many people don't realize that stress isn't just a mental burden, right? It has serious physical consequences, some of the things you were just talking about. So can you share some of the most surprising ways chronic stress impacts the body and why ignoring it can be dangerous?
Well, first of all, it can creep up on you because what happens is you become familiar with the symptoms and you just think it can kind of become normal, right? Um, but what we do know is that when you produce a certain amount of stress chemical in your body starts to go into flight mode, and it's trying to find ways to extinguish those particular chemicals. Obviously, alcohol and food are very good at doing that, but it's only a very interim period, and then obviously that moment goes away, and then it comes back again. So one of the things that I have found is very common with this particular connection between alcohol and with food is that that person doesn't know naturally how to reduce those chemicals, and with those things in the equation. As I said before, it becomes a habit. But the symptoms, the long-term issues with it is cortisol, weight gain, then lethargy is one of them very much. I mean, alcohol can give you a buzz, but it can quickly pull you down. The next day, the exhaustion and that sense of not feeling that you're coping, and then getting back on the hamster wheel and thinking, I need more sugar, because alcohol has sugar in it, right? So a lot of people say to me, Georgia, I'm drinking less. I'm really craving chocolate now. And there was chocolate in it. So because your body is used to having the sugar, which is, if you don't give it to alcohol, which you need food. So part of my programs are about getting that mind-body balance so that your emotional mind connected with your physical body because of the history relationship with food and alcohol will in a nanosecond want that again. So we need to change the connection. I mean, basically, we're talking about neural pathways here. So when people are anxious, they're in the fifth part of their brain, the amygdala, and that's where the cortisol and all the fight and stop. And then if you bring the food in to suppress or extinguish that experience, it just the brain's really lazy. It will continue to do that same behavior. But what's interesting over time is, as I said, it's not just the lethargy, weight gain, and the liver issues. Well, one of the things about the issues with the liver is fatty liver issues that can come from food or alcohol or medication for toxicity in the air. But um, that really we're talking about, we know that the gut is the transmitter of the neurons in the brain. It's really important to keep gut health well. And one of the things with alcohol is that it's a bit like bleach for your gut, right? It actually strips your biome. So that is one of the reasons why when you eat gut and alcohol, you should tend to have a gut issue as well. So there will be telltale signs of that. So there's a bit of a mixture going on here between the mind and the body. They're trying to communicate with each other, but the messages get a bit skewed, and then we just assume that the alcohol and food are going to be that fix. Whereas what I'm saying is when you change that psychological conditioning, then you can start to eat better, intuitively make healthy decisions where your gut health improves, your life improves, and you drink to enjoy rather than drink to run away or overeat.
Okay, that's some scientific information that is very important to knowing how to manage your stress, right? So this is a thing. How do you think to reverse the damage and take control? So when stress kind of takes over your inner critic, like what you were saying earlier about the amygdala and your mindset and everything, it often gets louder, fueling self-doubt and anxiety. So what are some effective strategies to silence that inner voice and regain control in high pressure moments?
Yeah, I specialize in this amazing psychology, Jungian psychology called voice dialogue. And the theory is that we're all made up of many parts, but there's one part that plays major havoc when it comes to coping strategies. And it's called the inner critic. Inner critic is the part that is like, oh, why did you say that in that meeting today? Oh, the Monday school game. Oh my goodness, you did this again. You've overeaten, you've drunk too much. And when we listen to that inner critic, we start to believe it's negative propaganda. And what happens, because that's the fear-based part of the brain, the amygdala, it fires off those chemicals. And then we need that. What do we do? What did I have last time? How did I best feel better? And if it's, some chocolate or cheese and bread or whatever it is, or alcohol, it will extinguish that moment for very briefly, but it'll come back. So what I've been working with for like 28 years is I help people train their mind and bodies to tune into that opposite part, the part that's actually listening right now to this podcast. And that's the healthy, intuitive part, the part that knows how to tune into the wisdom and the logic. But the reason why it's not more present is because it hasn't had enough experience. It hasn't been massaged enough. So with the power of hypnosis, we can literally in 25 minutes train the mind to tune to the prefrontal cortex, which is, the middle of the forehead. I mean, if you could imagine your brain being scanned when the neuroscientists scan the brain in an anxious moment, this bit lights up here. But when we're calm, it's here. And so I say to people, the beauty of tuning into that intuitive you, it's the charisma, it's that the not to be perfect, because there are other character traits that are very distinguishable in the whole physical manifestation of stress. And the first one is the perfectionist. So the perfectionist is very much an all or nothing person, where they're either eating really well, not drinking, feeling really on top of life, and then something happens that's really stressful. They say, oh my God, the last time I felt this emotion, bang, it was food or alcohol. And then that particular person will be a binge drinker, a binge eater. So what I'm saying is goal with my work is to get into that middle ground where you're intuitively eating, where you're intuitively drinking, where you're able to manage your inner critic rather than it manage you, and realize you don't have to be perfect to achieve great health goals. It doesn't have to be in stone that I'm going to have a stress less week because I'm eating really well a week. It's about starting to tune into the wisdom. And then also there is the pleaser personality trait. And the pleaser personality is the one that's the nurturer and looker after and is always kind of worried about what other people think, right? And how can I nurture the rest of the world? But what I'm saying is sometimes it's about nurturing you. And I think the oxygen to put out there for other people sometimes with a pleaser, I mean, they tend to attract narcissists, bullies, people who are very not good for the sense of self-worth. So my top tip would be is starting to learn how to say no and starting to retreat, because replenishing is really important for a pleaser. And often they replenish food and alcohol. And that ends them back in that vicious cycle. So the combination of the kind of, imagine the inner critic is the overlord, and then you've got your perfectionist and your pleaser, and they all run around under the inner critic and keep us in this kind of mayhem state. And that's when the anxiety and the stress chemicals and that feeling of not feeling safe then starts to manifest physical illnesses.
Oh, that's a lot. So in the hypnosis, does the hypnosis help with the inner critic, or how does the hypnosis help to resolve that inner critic, the negative inner critic anyway?
Yeah, I mean, the bad news is we can't get rid of our inner critic, because it really is the part of they call it the reptilian part of the brain, where we lived in caves and there were bears around the corner. But those bears in our social media, the mums at the school, or, in your workplace, or, running a company and feeling like, I'm feeling really alone, or living on your own. And so the trick is with hypnosis is when you're in that lovely state, and hypnosis is not, I mean, in order to go to sleep at night, you need to go through the hypnotic state. It's between half awake and half asleep experience. In that beautiful zone, your mind is emotionally open and more resourceful to change. So with my programs, it's about helping people in that beautiful space start to go to the prefrontal cortex, to tune into that authentic self, that intuitive self, that can really save the day. And it isn't, once again, about being perfect. It's about really honoring that we all have a history of not coping, or something happening, or, whether by choice or it just, the rug was pulled out from under us. It actually helps you become more resilient. So less you're in the inner critic space and more in that intuitive place, because your mind has to make a choice between stress chemicals and endorphins. It has to make a choice. So your brain, with hypnosis, we're training it to be naturally more comfortable and familiar. And I use that word a lot, familiar, because that means that you're creating a habit to have those chemical reactions in your body. And when you do that, you don't want to overeat, you don't want to overdrink, because you're not using those substances to extinguish those chemicals. You're already producing them by your thoughts and your actions.
That's good. Well, it's a perfect place to stop so that you could continue giving us the information we need about how stress is related to our physical body. So let's take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back.
Welcome to the Girl Talk Mental Health. Do you ever feel like you're running on empty? Stuck in the same cycle? Or just trying to keep it all together? You're not alone. Stress, depression, burnout, and self-doubt are real, but they don't have to control your life. Imagine feeling empowered, balanced, and truly at peace. At Girl Talk Mental Health, we're diving deep into the real conversations that help you heal, grow, and thrive. From breaking stigmas to actionable strategies, we're here to empower you to take back control of your mental wellness and reclaim your time, your energy, and your joy. Follow us now for expert insights, uplifting conversations, and the tools you need to transform your life. It's time for real talk with real impact. Girl Talk Mental Health. Real conversations, real change. Follow us today at Virginia Dalmenning.
Welcome back. We have the awesome Georgia Foster here. And if you missed the second half, because of the first half, and you're tuning in to the second half, make sure you go back because she dropped some real great nuggets, especially about hypnotherapy and how they can help you to overcome your stress so that you can have a better physical life. So, Georgia, we have about 6 minutes left, and you have so much information. We're gonna have to do a part two sooner or later. So what are some daily, and you gave us some great scientific based information already. So what is like a science besides the hypnotherapy, because that's science based technique as well. What other technique do you know of that can help people protect their mental and physical well-being without adding more to their plate? Because stress is, it's like a lot on your plate when you have a lot of stresses going on.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's some very good, quick top tips. The first is when you're anxious and you're feeling fearful, you shallow breathe. So there's box breathing, which you can just breathe in. You basically take a big belly breath in and you count to 5, as in 5 seconds. And then you release all of that oxygen and you count for 5. And then you repeat that 3 times. So in for 5 seconds and then out. And that will calm your central nervous system right down. I think that breath is one of the most important things. The second thing is if you're in a state where you're feeling highly vulnerable, the most important thing is to find, and it's an instant thing, put a song on that really inspires you, something that really motivates you. That will switch. Some people say Mozart is great. Classical music is fantastic at calming your nerves down. So you can be playing that in the background while you're working, right? Or you're doing something. But equally, motivational music says, oh gosh, and it really triggers those feelings of like, oh, I feel really well and inside, and I'm not feeling so bad now. Phone a funny friend. That's a really good idea. I've got a very funny friend who I lived in London for 23 years, and I just call her on one of those not so great days, and we just have a laugh, But I think the most important thing is that when you're in a space where when you're feeling vulnerable, you're feeling fearful, is that moment will pass. And the quickest way to do that is for you to take action, to have a photograph or put a video. I've got some really funny videos of my children. So I put that on to trigger. This is what I'm here on the earth for. This is to bring up 3 beautiful children. And, all those things that bring you back to base. Because there's a concept that difficult times are more elated and the good moments are contracted. So the more you're in space of shifting out of that and in that more positive space, the more your brain will say, well, the last time I felt this emotion, put this music on and I shifted really quickly. So the more you work with your breath and bring in moments that inspire you and get you into that better space real quick, because the instant you do that, the chemical reaction changes. And that's really key to that physicalness that you've been talking about. And obviously the mental and physical health is really important.
So that brings us to our spotlight question. Are you ready?
Yep, go for it.
So you've given us already a million quadrillion good techniques. So this is probably be a little redundant. So you could just make it quick. So what's one mindset shift out of the many you've given us already, or action step you believe could transform how we approach mental health and wellness in our daily lives?
Well, it's managing the inner critic. So everything the inner critic says, write down the opposite. And write down the opposite is it feels safe to be me. It feels good to be me. I'm doing a great job. I don't have to be perfect. Just make some things if you want to. Post-it notes, phone alarms, right? Do things that you can put it on your calendar or your diary. Put them on if you live alone, in the post-it note on your mirror in the bathroom. Start to ignite the dialogue, because the mind listens. And the more you say, and you say the words out loud, vibrationally, you are shifting the chemical reaction in your body. So the more you can say those words, those sentences, those mantras, those affirmations, whatever you choose to call them, the more your mind listens and says, oh, I'm allowed to feel good. This is okay. It will really shift very quickly.
All right. And we appreciate you giving us your knowledge, because we kind of picked your brain today, and you gave us all of your power and what you do in your business. So tell the audience where they can connect with you at more, even though everything is going to be in the description, and if you have an offer for them.
Sure. Well, for your audience, I'm offering everything on my website with 20% off. The coupon code with Virginia.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have a great range of supplements. One in particular supplement, which is for people who drink alcohol. Because so this is actually interesting thing is people who drink alcohol, alcohol depletes the vitamin B's, right? Most of the vitamin B's. So what the supplement does is put it back in. Because so when people have a bit too much to drink, they have a lot of anxiety in the morning, right? And that has a lot to do with the depletion of the nutritional issues that your body has. Your liver been working hard. Also, obviously, putting your vitamin B's back in. It's got lots of probiotics in it to put back the good gut health, because I'm very much into gut health. So that is also there 20% off. My 7 Days to Drink Less program, my 6-week boot camp, which is a more intense program. And then obviously the Weightless Mind, which is a really good program at helping you have a better relationship with food. So it's all there, but any questions, please let me know.
All right. Well, we want to thank you, because we really appreciate you coming to visit with us today. And y'all connect with Georgia, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we will see you next time for another episode of Girl Talk Mental Health.
Thank you for joining us for Girl Talk Mental Health. Remember, your mental health is your wealth. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to at Virginia Del Manning.